A lot of people decide, somewhere in their 30s or 40s, that they are just not good with money. They look at how slowly it built in the early years, and they take it as a verdict. I want to tell you tonight that they read it exactly backwards. Money is a skill, not luck, and like every skill, the beginning is the hardest part by far. The slowness was never proof you were bad at it. It was proof you were early. Let me give you the useful part first, because it will change how you look at your own early years, and maybe how you talk to a son or a daughter who is in the thick of it right now. Think about anything you have ever learned to do well: driving, cooking, a trade, an instrument. The first month was clumsy and discouraging, and you were quietly sure everyone else found it easier than you did. Nobody looks at a person stalling a car in a parking lot and says, "Well, they are just not a driver." We all understand that the beginning of a skill is supposed to feel like that. And yet with money, the one skill nobody teaches on purpose, we take the awkward beginning as a life sentence. Here is what actually happens in those early years. You are doing two hard things at once. You are learning the skill from zero, and you have almost nothing working alongside you yet. So every dollar has to be carried up the hill by hand. It is slow, it is unrewarding, and it is exactly what the beginning of a skill looks like. The people who quit did not have worse luck than the people who made it. They quit during the part where every skill feels impossible, and they decided they were bad with money about 10 steps before they would have become good with it. There is a famous version of this idea, and it comes from one of the sharpest money minds of the last century. At a shareholder meeting back in the 1990s, a young man stood up and asked Charlie Munger for his best advice on building wealth. Munger told him the first $100,000 is the hard one. Get there by almost any honest means necessary, he said, and after that you can ease off the gas a little. Now the number is his, and it was a different era. Do not fixate on the exact figure. What matters is the shape of what he said. There is a first block of money, whatever the amount turns out to be for you, and that first block is the bottleneck of the entire journey, not the middle, not the end, the beginning. Let me show you why the math makes that first stretch feel so brutal, because once you see it, you stop taking it personally. When you are building that first block, almost everything in the pot is money you put there with your own hands. Growth is barely a rounding error at that stage. One common illustration puts it at roughly 3/4 you and 1/4 growth in the early years. So you are doing nearly all of the lifting yourself, and the engine that everybody talks about, the one that is supposed to do the work for you, is still sitting in the corner warming up. Let me put one plain example on it, and I want to be clear, this is just an illustration, not a prediction, and certainly not advice. Imagine someone setting aside a fixed amount every year, earning some steady but ordinary return. In a case like that, reaching the first 100,000 might take the better part of 8 years of patient, boring effort. But going from the first 100,000 to the second can take closer to 5. And the third comes faster still. Same person, same habit, same monthly effort. The only thing that changed is that the engine finally woke up and started pulling its share of the load. And this is just the arithmetic of it. It is not a comment on your discipline or your intelligence. Anybody, at any starting point, feels the same drag at the beginning, because at the beginning there is simply nothing else pushing yet. The reward for staying is that the ratio quietly flips. Later on, the growth starts pulling more than you do, and the same effort that barely moved the needle at the start begins to move it on its own. But you only ever get to that part if you do not quit during the flat years that come first. So let me make the case that this really is a skill, and not the luck we tell ourselves it is. When researchers actually go and study people who built wealth, luck is not what they find. In one large survey of 10,000 American millionaires by Ramsey Solutions, and it is their own audience, so take it with that in mind, 79% had received no inheritance at all. 8 in 10 came from families at or below middle income. And 94% said the plainest possible thing about how they did it. They live on less than they make. Sit with that for a moment. If wealth were luck, it would be scattered randomly, and it would not keep showing up as the same short list of ordinary habits in person after person. Luck does not repeat like that. Skills repeat like that. The very fact that the same handful of behaviors appears again and again is the proof that it was learned, not won. So what is the skill actually? Because I do not want to leave it as a vague and inspiring word. It is short, and it is deeply unglamorous, and there is nothing in it you could not start practicing this week. The first part is simply noticing where the money goes, not judging it, not fixing it yet. Just seeing it clearly, on purpose, instead of letting it happen to you in the dark. The second part is deciding once instead of every day. The skilled do not rely on willpower at the checkout. They set a rule while they are calm, and then they let the rule carry them on the days they are not. The third part is being able to wait longer than feels comfortable. Almost everything good in money is on the other side of a delay that most people will not sit through. Learning to sit through it is most of the game. And the fourth part is the one that decides everything, not quitting during the flat stretch. Continuing to do the boring correct thing through the years when it does not seem to be working, because that is precisely when the skill is being built and the foundation is being poured. Notice that not one of those is clever. There is no secret in the list. It is a skill in the oldest sense of the word, the kind you build by repetition until it becomes just how you are. And like any such skill, it is almost impossible at first and nearly automatic in the end. Now here is the part I most wanted to say to you at this stage of life. If you built any of that, even some of it, even imperfectly, the skill is yours now, and it does not retire when you do. A skill is not a balance that can be spent down. It is a way of seeing that stays with you, and it keeps working quietly in the background for the rest of your life, in every decision you make without even noticing you are making it. And it happens to be the one thing you can hand to your children and your grandchildren that nobody can take back. Money given to someone who never built the skill tends to evaporate, and we have all watched that happen, sometimes inside a single generation. The lottery winner who was broke in 5 years is not a story about bad luck. It is a story about a large amount of money handed to someone who never built the skill to hold it. But the skill itself, taught patiently by example over years, cannot be lost or stolen or taxed away. It is the only inheritance that grows in the hands of the person who receives it. If you have it, you have something far better than a number to leave behind. You have the how, and you do not teach it with a lecture. Nobody ever learned this from a speech, least of all from a parent. They learn it the way you learned it, by watching someone nearby treat money as something you steer on purpose rather than something that simply happens to you. If a young person in your life sees that, even once, even without a word said about it, you have given them the beginning of the skill. And the beginning, as we said right at the start, is the hardest part of all. So let me go back to where we started, and to the person who quietly decided they were bad with money. You were not bad with money. You were early. You were in the part of the skill that feels like failure and is actually just the beginning, the part everyone has to walk through and most people mistake for a wall. And if you are still in it tonight, at any age, the honest truth is that the only people who never get good at this are the ones who stop while it still feels hard. So here's what I would like from you. Tell me in the comments about the moment money started to feel like a skill you had, rather than luck you were waiting for. What changed? I read every one of these, and for the person reading them who is still in the flat years, your story will do more than mine ever could. Take care of the quiet things, and the quiet things will take care of you.